Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. There are some more people just registering outside, but in the interest of keeping to time, I think we should probably start. Just to say a bit of housekeeping, there's no fire drills expected today, so if the alarm does go off, we are on fire. So if you go out the back of that door at the back there and turn left, that takes you to the fire escape. We've also got this live Twitter feed. I think I sent my first tweet about 5 days ago, and I haven't got really a clue how it works. But the incentive for you to tweet is that the more you tweet, the smaller my face gets and will eventually disappear. So I would encourage you to tweet vigorously for the sake of everybody. Okay. So just a few words of introduction. First of all, thank you very much for coming. I know that you all have very busy and hectic lives. Working for the health service, it's not easy these days, and it's difficult to take a day out and travel somewhere else in the country to do this, and I really do appreciate you doing that. We've got 90 people registered for the meeting, which I think is fantastic, and we've got over 75% of our BASIL centres represented by at least one person, and several centres have sent a whole posse of people, so that's really great. And I know that NIHR will be they've asked us to run this meeting, and they're bankrolling it, and they're very keen to see that we have engagement, and I think it's really important for the viability of the trial and future trials that we want to do as a specialty that we are a community and we engage in this kind of activity, and I think the turnout today will be very gratifying for them, and I think sends a very clear message that this is the sort of activity that we want to engage in as a vascular and endovascular specialty. I'd particularly like to welcome our overseas guests. We have Dr. Matt Menard and Dr. Alec Farber, who are vascular surgeons in Boston in the US, and they are co-chief investigators on the BEST CLI trial, which is very similar to the BASIL trials that we're doing in this country. And we've become very good friends, and we've worked a lot over the last few years to make sure that our trials complement each other and that we can feed off each other's experiences. And ultimately, we hope to construct an individual patient data meta-analysis at the end to amalgamate the data from both trials in the US. And as they will tell you, that they have centres outside the US as well. And they're going to tell you about the trial and share their experiences and the challenges of running these trials. Because even though the US and our healthcare systems are very different, having been to a number of their investigators' meetings in the States, it's surprising how similar challenges are despite those big differences. I'd also like to welcome Mr. Jonas Malmsted from Stockholm in Sweden. Sweden have only been open about, a year? Just over a year. And in that time, they've become, if not our fastest, certainly one of our fastest recruiters into BASIL-2. Not only do they recruit very large numbers of patients, but the quality of the data they return to us is absolutely exemplary. And Jonas is going to share with them how in their system they're able to overcome the obvious challenges of putting patients into these trials. And he's also going to talk to you about SwedePad, which is a trial that they're running in Sweden, which has some similarities to our BASIL-3 trial. We've also got colleagues from some of the top recruiting centres in the UK. Matt Bound from Leicester, thank you for coming. And also Nick Chalmers from Manchester. And Ian Chetter can't be here today, but he's got a video message for us. So it's great. Somebody's suggesting that's not good news. Yeah. So we're going to have a BASIL success stories towards the end of the afternoon because, rather than me going on and on and on and on about it, you might want to hear someone else talk about it because I'm sure you're sick and tired of hearing me talk about BASIL. I'm fed up of hearing me talk about BASIL. So why are we doing this meeting? Well, I have to say at the end of last year, particularly, BASIL-2, I was quite fearful that we might have run out of road, and we were struggling so badly to recruit anywhere near what we thought would be the original target that I honestly thought that NIHR might pull the plug. But we had a number of meetings with NIHR, and particularly myself and the statistical team run by John Deeks, who's the senior methodologist and statistician on the trials. We met with the HTA, and John will speak to this later, we reworked some of the sample size and power calculations around BASIL-2 so that the peak of Everest that we were aiming for has become a little bit lower, and I think is now a very realistic goal. And NIHR agreed with us. They're very committed to these trials. They think they're really important trials. They want them to succeed. And I think they will continue to support our trial as long as we can meet some of their basic requirements. And one of the things they wanted us to do was run this Investigators relaunch meeting, and they've kindly sponsored and funded this meeting. And again, thank you very much for coming. Although the focus of this relaunch meeting was primarily going to be BASIL-2, and things are, much more optimistic with BASIL-3. It's an easier trial to recruit to. There's no surgical arm. It's 3 endovascular options. There's no doubt there's a bit of trial fatigue with BASIL-3. So it's not going to just be about BASIL-2 today. It's going to be about BASIL-3 as well, because many of the issues are common to the two trials. We're going to focus on recruitment, and we want to hear from you. We're going to have lots of interaction and how you think we can make it easier for you to put patients in these trials. But we're also going to look at data quality, because obviously at the end of the day, if we recruit 400 or 500 patients into a trial, and at the end of the day we find that the data, the level of completeness of the data and the quality of the data we get back is not as good as it should be, it's not going to have the impact on practice that we would all like it to have for the benefit of our patients. So we're going to talk about data quality and particularly a focus on baseline assessment, because if we don't characterize the patients who are going into this trial, it's very difficult to generalize the results to the bigger CLTI community. And we're going to be talking particularly about hemodynamics, ankle and toe pressures. And Steve Wesley from Huntley has a stand over there with some of their gizmos, and please do go and have a look at that equipment. And he will speak to you about opportunities to purchase it or use it if that's something that it would be helpful in your units. So why is BASIL important? It's very important for our patients. People with chronic limb-threatening ischemia are a vulnerable and challenging group of patients. And you could say that the evidence base on which we're practicing at the moment is pretty limited. They're the biggest group of patients that we treat, and they're the biggest group of patients with vascular problems around the world. And I know that, having worked on the global vascular guidelines for the last 3 years. You go to any hospital anywhere in the world, you go to the vascular ward, it'll largely be full of people with critical limb ischemia. And I'm very pleased to say that Barry Atwood, one of our patient representatives, are here. I don't know where you are, Barry. Thank you very much for coming. Peter Mouth can't come because he's sunning himself on some Greek island somewhere. Some excuse, for not coming, but there we are. And they're going to say a few words, or they've given us some slides, putting the patient perspective on this. I think these trials are really important for the NHS. We all know that we're creaking a bit, and yes, we will probably get a little bit more money, but not a lot more money. So we have to be really sure that the money that we do have is used effectively. And by doing these trials, we get level 1 evidence of clinical and cost effectiveness. And beyond BASIL, I think it's really important for our specialty, vascular and endovascular surgery, surgeons and interventional radiologists working together collaboratively to improve the care for vascular patients. If we don't provide this evidence, we're going to struggle to compete with those specialties that do in what's going to be an increasingly competitive environment for limited resources. So BASIL is being watched. It's an exemplar. It's a litmus test to how well we can work as a community in the UK to deliver high-quality evidence on which to base our practice. So I say it's going to be interactive. We have got this Twitter thing here. We're going to be doing some voting later on with some... Have we distributed? What's that picture? So we're going to be doing some voting. Lewis is going to show some angiograms. We're going to get you to vote on that. We've got a couple of surveys that we'd like you to complete, please. They're very simple. If you're in both trials, perhaps you complete them both. If you're just in BASIL-2, do that one, etc., BASIL-3. Because it's really important we get your feedback on how you think these trials. We're going to have lots of times for discussion, and we're going to have a quiz. So scattered through the presentations of the day, there are clues to the 8 questions in the quiz. And at the end of the day, people who sign the attendance register, and I'm sorry to make you do that, it is a bit like being back at school, but NIHR are very keen to know who's here for the meeting, so if you could sign that, that would be great. If you've completed the surveys and also the all-important feedback form, and you get, did we say, at least 7 out of 8 questions correct, and there's no cheating, no conferring, then you get ticket into a raffle for £200 for what, Aston Villa season ticket, isn't it? No. What are Anyway, £200 of gift tokens, so everything to play for. So I'm going to stop rabbiting on now. Thank you again for coming, and what we're going to do is show a video message from Professor Hal Williams, who's the director of the HTA, and as I say, he's very interested in these trials, and he can't be here today personally. He's a very busy man, but he has recorded a message for us, which we're going to play now. The next slide.